evening and welcome to another exciting show. And my usual thing every week is, are the performing, yes, the performing seals are out there. Do you know, I feel like lobbing a toilet roll at them. I could actually lob one of those new Star Trek toilet rolls. I don't know if you've heard of them. Apparently this new form of Star Trek toilet paper gets all the Klingons out. So there we go. Anyway, on with the show. And first of all, we've got the competition. So it's a good one this week. Now, regarding currency, who is the odd one out? Now, some of you will get it straight away. Others won't. But here we go. 1, is it Abraham Lincoln? 2, Lloyd George? 3, Mr. H, or 4, Winston Churchill. So we go over that again, and it's regarding currency. Okay, who is the odd one out? Is it Abraham Lincoln, Lloyd George, Adolf Hitler, Winston Churchill? So I'll keep that up there for a little while, and later on in the program, well, we'll see if we've got any thoughts on that first of all. So you know, do a bit of head scratching, and again, I think some of you will come up with it immediately. They'll know the odd one out, but you never know. See how it goes. And also, hang on, got my finger in the wrong place. Yes, this is officially a. So I'm very pleased. I won't mention it. You see, I won't read this out. But virtual hugs. Well, I'll read this bit out. Handshakes, hugs, kisses from ladies, of course. Humanity and kindness, welcome. So I think we're okay there. So anyway, we go back to this again. So it's regarding currency. Okay. So let's have a look in chat, see who's in there. My word, it's certainly picking up tonight. And beside that, here we go. And hello, Adrian. May have it. May have it. I can't announce the winner just yet, can I? I've got to keep the suspense going. So he may have it. And hello, it's who spreads lies, others know the truth, who is who. Greetings. And Squirrel Girl as well. And sorry, Adrian, I won't put. I hope you don't think it's rude. But I won't. Well, hang on, no, I will put it up there. Okay, so Adrian thinks it's okay, Winston Churchill, and Ralph thinks it's Uncle H. Interesting, isn't it? Yes. Well, first of all, before we go any further, I'd like to give a shout out to several people. Spare a thought, shall we? I've been in contact via Facebook. I won't mention her name with a lady in well, a couple of people actually who are trapped in Spain. They're British, but they're in Spain. And of course, this I'll just shall we say, I won't mention the word. This that's hyped up as something else. When that hit, they're trapped there. And some of them are trapped in hotel rooms, and some of them are trapped in houses and all kinds of places. And in Spain, their religious, shall we say, their is more intense than most places. So they weren't even allowed out of their rooms or houses and places like that. So let's send some positive thoughts to all our friends and that are in all around the world as well that are trapped. But there's those nice people who are trapped in a camper van in Spain, and there's some nice people that are also trapped in Spain. Spain seems to be a bit like a spider's web. You're trapped in there. The more you do to get away from the place, the more it sort of pulls you in. So there we go. Now let's have a look. We've got 3 more answers in the chat. What we got here? Oh, hello, we've got Soulbot. I like that name. I guess, yeah. Fuzzy Little Man Peach. Yeah. all have appeared. Oh, here we are. Adolph Hitler, Mr. A, shall we say, all have appeared on banknotes except him, I think. You got a good point there. That's a sort of answer I wasn't expecting, but you've got and Ralph's backing him up. Yeah, actually, I wasn't expecting that sort of answer. Let's put it this way: there's probably a double right answer on this one. Then, so I didn't see that one coming. Actually, excuse me, I'm going to have another glug here. Here we go. Right now, I'm this week. I don't know about you, but I'm finding. Excuse me, I've still got this damn hay fever on. I can't get rid of it. But I am absolutely sick of this, and I won't say the word, this infecting our culture and getting in everywhere, and it is a cult. Now, I will not no longer shop in Wickes, Homebase or Poundland. Now, I toddled along to Poundland where I buy all my Christmas presents from. Yes, I'm a tight-fisted git, because I actually buy dicky bird food there for wild birds, you see. And but the only wild birds in my garden are pigeons, and they give me a miserable look because I say, tight-fisted git, can't you afford better bird food than this? But that's life, isn't it? Anyway, there's this bleeding great queue outside Poundland, and there's a bloke standing there in the entrance with all his religious gear on. He's got his sanitary towel mask over his face. He's got his goggles and his surgical gloves. And he's got a clipboard. He's standing there. And so my attitude is, I am a customer. I go there to buy things. And that is putting me off of buying things. So I won't buy things. So I'll take their advice and I'll sod off somewhere else. And I actually go to another pound shop, which is their rival, and there's no queues at all in there. It's great. And it's cheaper. And because was it pound or less, I think it is. And they're really nice people in there as well. I mean, you know, I had a bag of shopping the other day and a bloke helped me with my bag, you know, who was serving there. And there's none of this cult going on there. They're very sensible people. So I go there. And I'd like to thank also Tool Station for saving me money, because they've got this ridiculous situation similar to Wickes. Well, although I think they're owned by, I think they're all the same firm, Wickes, Tool Station. I think they're owned by Travis Perkins. And I needed some paint, you know, the spray paint, because I'm doing an old bike. So I found an old wreck of a bike in a ditch, and I'm doing it up, you see, because I like doing things like that. So anyway, I thought, well, I don't want to spend too much money on it. So I looked in Tool Station, and the price of the spray paint would have come to over 10 quid. But the trouble is, you got to do the Highland jig outside their bloody shop, you know. What is it now? It's a bit like, you know, the Cold War, when they would do a prisoner exchange, and they go to a bridge, and I think they go to the middle of it, you know, and they quickly pass each other. You see all those films, didn't they? You know, sort of. We got these blokes in dodgy raincoats saying things like, "It is raining in Sweden, and my pussycat has fleas," and all these sort of strange passwords and that. But anyway, it's a bit like that. And I thought, well, sod that. You know, I'm an adult. I'm not an infant. And apparently what you got to do, you got to order your stuff online, then go to the shop, and then you got to stand outside until a person, member of staff, tells you to walk forward. They walk back, then you walk forward, I kid you not, put your details on a table, then you've got to walk back and they walk forward, then they go and get your stuff, and then you can't go forward and pick up your goods until they step back. So I thought, well, sod that. I'm an adult. I'm not pissing around with things like that. So anyway, I went to this alternative pound shop. Was it £1 or less? And I managed to get the paint I want for 4 quid. And I got a better quantity of spray paint than I would have got in the pound shop. So I've saved money not going to Tool Station. and I'll save money not going to the pound shop. So it's forcing me to actually find cheaper and better places. Now, unfortunately, they don't sell crappy bird food, wild bird food in the £1 or less where I go. They normally sell it, but they're out of stock. But I've been looking around online, and I'm thinking of ordering it, a large quantity of it, online, where I can get it cheaper than the pound shop. So it's good of Power Lad to advise me not to shop there, so I won't be shopping there. But I think the funniest place is Homebase. Now, not too far from where I live, there's this bloody great Homebase store. And before this cockdown or lockdown or whatever you want to call it occurred, if you went in there any day of the week, you wouldn't get within a metre of somebody, or 2 metres of someone. It was so big, this store. It was like a kind of empty area. You very rarely pass anybody. So it's pretty safe to walk around there. Well, safe any time, actually. But now they've got strict measures. And I kid you not, there's a bleeding great queue wrapping around the corner. People are just want to nip in there. So I thought, well, sod them. I'm not going to shop in there. Well, look, I'm not prepared to stand outside. I'm a customer. So I'm not a snob, don't get me wrong, and I don't expect the red carpet treatment, but I do expect to be treated with politeness, which is reciprocal. So it's getting a bit sort of too much. And I think what's happening is similar to what happened in the Cultural Revolution, and I'll go on a lot about this, in China. Now, for example, I told you the other week about what happened in Lidl's when I went in there and I was loading my stuff on the conveyor belt. And I said, "Would you stand back, please?" You know. Well, anyway, I was in Tesco's the other night, and I decided to shop now about an hour and a half before they close because it's empty. You don't have to queue, just walk straight in. I won't queue. My attitude is I'm a customer. I don't want to queue. If I want to buy something, I go in there. And if there's a queue, I just go someplace else where there isn't a queue. Anyway, and again, I'm not being arrogant here. I'm just getting a bit fed up with shops dictating to you and little dictators outside saying, "You can stay, you can't, you can come in, you can't." Yeah, it's not all that. Anyway, I was walking around then. They've got these arrows you can follow. Well, there was only about a handful of people in there because it was not that long before closing. So I was walking along, and I was walking along the sort of frozen area, and the arrows are going against the arrows because there was nobody there. Now, I was using logic. I won't say common sense because common sense isn't common. Because if it was common, then everybody would be sensible, but they're not. So there's no such thing as common sense. I call it logic. Now, if I followed the arrows, and I don't believe in this current cult, I'd be going past lots of people to follow the arrows. But if I go against the arrows, I'm not. And there's nobody there. So I'm walking along and I'm looking along the frozen peas and frozen stuff. And suddenly this little squirt of a 20-year-old with his girlfriend comes around the corner. And he said, going against the arrows to me. So I just ignored him. And that's what I do now. I just ignore them. And I carried on just looking along, you know, things. "I said you're going against the arrows." So I ignored him again. And I find that's the best thing to do because where ignorance is bliss, it's folly to be wise. And why waste your breath on people like that? I'm not a snob. And I think if you'd have blocked he didn't work for Tesco's. He was just an ordinary shopper like myself. And if he'd have stood in front of me, I wouldn't have said a word. I mean, at Lidl's, I tried to make a joke of it and it went down like a lead balloon. But in future, I'll just do what I used to do and just sort of stay in there. And if someone is obnoxious to me, I'll just look them up and down as if they're from another planet, you know, sort of a puzzled look on their face. And I think that's the best thing. Look, don't say, because why waste your breath? But it's getting now that, you know, we've got these little dictators walking around, and you think this time last year, a 20-something wouldn't have dreamt of saying that to anybody. And also, if somebody had told you in a supermarket to stand back, you could have said this is racial discrimination. But they can't do that now. there's no such thing as racial discrimination now. That's all been out the window, isn't it? So that's one good thing, I suppose. You know, we don't get into that old rubbish. Anyway, let's have a quick look in chat and we go on to the next subject. Here we go. Oh, I'll quickly put this up again. See if you've got this. God in currency, who is the odd one out? Abraham Lincoln, Lloyd George, Uncle H, or Winston Churchill? So we'll have a good one. Whilst you're reading that, I can actually have a glug. Here we go. Right, here we are. And it's very lively in chat. What we got here? Gordon Bennett. Squirrel Girl. I didn't hear any pot banging or clapping tonight. Or perhaps I got a clap, you know. That's right. Cheaper than a pound. I think it's called Cheaper Than a Pound or One Below, something like that. But it's really good. You know, they haven't got any arrows in there. You can go whichever way you want. And you speak. And the staff, they've got a choice. They can wear the sanitary towel around their face, or they can wear a goggle, welder's sort of apparatus, or none at all. And most of them in there don't wear any protection, and they're very polite and they give you a smile, and you can crack a joke, and all very, like the old days. Right. Oh, this is interesting. Be careful, Chris. I've got cheap bird food, and cannabis plants were appearing under the bird table. Groovy, man. Bloody hell, that's why my pigeons have been acting a bit strange. You've answered the question there. I thought I could hear sitar music coming out of the tree. And I go, oh yeah, man, I'm really freaking out, man. See, what I do, I've got an obnoxious neighbour, and it's a deal I've got with the pigeons. You see, I feed the pigeons, and then they fly over and crap on my neighbour's car. It's a sort of nice deal we've got, isn't it? It's pretty good, that. It's got, that's just hemp. Oh, is it? Oh well. Perhaps I could go out there and sniff the bird seed, What we get? Paul Craven, it smelt beautiful. I didn't like pulling them up. Felt like a crime against nature. Well, that's interesting. So you get more than you ask for if you go to pound shop bird food. Well, my attitude is don't get any complaints from the bird, apart from them crapping on my step, but that's about it, really. But I tell you something, the pigeons I've got a couple of very nice pigeons. One's called Eric, and the other one's called Snowy. And tonight, old Snowy was sitting on top of my compost bin, and I got to within about a foot of him or her. I don't know how you tell the sex of a pigeon, but anyway, he or she was sitting there and just sort of looking me up and down. So perhaps it's the bird food that's done it. Now what have we got here? I thought that the shop limits. This is Adrian. Hello, Adrian. I thought that the shop limits was based on customers per certain square meterage. So if home base is that big, sounds to me that the queuing outside is an organised site. I think you got a point there, Adrian. You really have. And on that point, somebody did mention that could it be that people are supposed to stand 2 meters apart so that these face recognition cameras can they can tune them in, and if you put a mask on, look like, I don't know, Tonto out of the Lone Ranger or something, or one of those sort of bandit masks on, it's so they can see whether they can see through the mask. Perhaps it's experiments, who knows. Right, here we go. They are not queuing in China at Walmart. That's interesting. Don't know that, and I've been to China. Here we go. Wattle, yes, pot banging here are contributed by slamming me window shut. Oh, you got, oh. Yeah, as I say, I felt like lobbing a toilet roll at them, actually. I live in a semi-rural area, and the only people, I've got windows double glazed, so when I got it closed, I could hardly hear it. But in the summer, when I'm doing these, if they carry on doing their pot banging, you're going to hear it pretty loud. But all they frightened is the crows who are sitting in a nest in a tree, and my neighbour's cat, who's called Bert. And poor old Bert, he was so frightened, he crapped on me front doorstep the other week. I have to put the shits up him. Poor sod. Wattle and Daub laugh out. That's right. Right, but you know, have you sort of noticed that they reckon that some shops will only allow you in if you're wearing a mask? Now, when I was a kid at school, a couple of years ago, oh, my nose has just grown a bit longer. A little bit longer than a few years ago, shall we say? I think Queen Victoria's on the throne. No, but I was told it. I've written this down because I always forgot it. It's we breathe in oxygen and nitrogen, and we give out carbon dioxide. Now, my feeling is it's like an exhaust. You know, you wouldn't breathe over the exhaust of your car. We're breathing out because it's waste matter. We, you know, like we go and have a crap or a wee. It's waste matter that we're getting rid of. And when I came off my bike last year, it was a very cold day, and I had a scarf over my mouth and nose to keep my face warm. And I'll never do that again, because I think that what it did, it stopped oxygen getting into my system. I mean, I fell off my bike, and I was pretty badly bruised and hurt, and I got straight back on it, which I shouldn't have done. And I fainted further up the road, and you know, next thing I knew was, you know, and I think I knocked myself out. But anyway, that's another question. That's another thing that's in the past. But I don't like wearing a mask because I think it's unhealthy to breathe in your own exhaust, and it makes you dizzy. It makes you, it fuzzes your brain up, because you are actually breathing in your own waste matter, which can't be right. And there's quite a few doctors saying that, which of course you don't see on propaganda BBC. They're saying, you know, you shouldn't breathe in your own sort of germs, you know, and I think there's something in that. And I don't like it. I mean, the only time I wear a mask is if I'm spraying my cheap pound or less when I'm spraying my bike frame. So yes, I will wear a mask then, because I don't want to breathe in all the paint smells and that's my own health. But I don't like wearing one, and that'll be off as quickly as possible when I finish spraying. So I was thinking of this, how can I actually go into a shop which you're only allowed to wear a mask? And I think I've cracked it. Okay, got some ideas here. Now, I've got like an industrial mask. Pity I didn't bring it with me today, but it's got a canister, and you put a filter into this. So you open up the front of it. It's a bit like a World War II gas mask, this thing. And I wear this when I'm spraying anything. You put a canister inside. Now, if you take the canister out, it's just nothing there. There's just like little air holes at the front. So if you have to wear a mask, I'm going to put that on. So I'm breathing normally. Because they're not going to check. There's no canister in there, because really a mask, the reason that a surgeon wears a mask is to stop spittle and bits and bobs of him dropping on the poor soddy cutting open. But really, if you're putting a mask on to stop germs entering, well, you've got to have something really expensive like 3M or something like that, because an ordinary mask, germs, ordinary, I better not say the word, the germs are going to go straight through it. So it's not going to stop you. And all it is, they say, is to stop you touching your face and sneezing over people. I don't sneeze over people anyway. So, you know, it's just complete and utter nonsense. So the other idea I've got is I wear a shamig. Now you're probably thinking, what's a shamig? A Palestinian shamig. Huh? What it is like a scarf. And the SAS use them, and I think the American forces use them as well. And they're thin cotton. They're brilliant, because what I like, they're very warm. You can wrap them around you in the winter, and if it gets a bit warm, you can take them off. And unlike a woolen scarf, you can fold them up very small and shove them in your pocket. And that's why the forces use them. And you can get them from, there's a Palestinian factory that still produces them. Then, all right, you can get Chinese copies, and you can get ones that are made in a place we're not allowed to criticize, which I will not buy from. But you can get a genuine, you know, Yasser Arafat one from, from Palestine. And on that note about Palestine, I'll probably mention this before. It's probably thanks to Palestine that I'm here. Did you think it? Hey, no, I'm not Palestinian. But very, very quickly, during World War II, my dad was a conscript in the British Army, and he was sent to Malta, and he went through the full siege, and they couldn't get supplies through, and they were starving. And although all they had to eat was 6 type dog biscuits a day, but they managed to get some Palestinian chocolate through. How, I don't know, because everything was being bombed. And this Palestinian chocolate, I think they're allowed 2 small pieces a week. And the sugar in it and what was in it kept him going. So thank you, Palestine. You kept me dad alive. And if you hadn't kept me dad alive, I wouldn't be here. So a big thank you to Palestine. I get a bit choked when I think of that. But if it wasn't for Palestine, you know, who knows? But he reckons that that's what kept him alive, this Palestinian chocolate. So, yeah. I said, do you think you've got 2 small pieces and you had to make that last a week? You cut it up and just have a little bit each day. And I suppose the sugar kept him going a bit. I don't know, you know. But, no, it's quite moving, that, isn't it? Anyway, shall I let you out of with the quiz, eh? I'll just have a little glug. Regarding currency, who is the odd one out? Is it 1, Abraham Lincoln, Lloyd George, Uncle H, or Winston Churchill? Now let's have a quick look in the comments, see if anybody's got any idea. What we've got here? Hang on, we've got here. Oh, that's nice. I like people to agree with me. Thanks, Squirrel Girl. Oh, it's Adrian. Oh, Adrian. Mass remove person-to-person facial communications and prove that the mask wearer is compliant. That's right. Yes, it's all part of the religion, isn't it, Adrian? I don't know. I just, stupidity is unbelievable. Right. Committee style. You're right. You're absolutely. I'll tell you something. There's a cracker. I think it was the president of Tanzania. Now that fella, he's got his head screwed on. He really has. Has anybody seen that YouTube video of him? Now I don't know anything about him, but I think he's the big geezer in Tanzania. He's a, you know, I don't know if he's the prime minister. I don't really know much about Tanzania. I mean, I'd have difficulty putting it on a map, but if it's full of people like the president of Tanzania, well, boy, it's obviously a good country. And what he did, I don't know if he did it for a laugh, but he got his people to, hang on a minute, here we go. He got his people to, he got some DNA from a goat, a bird, he got some engine oil and a pawpaw, is it? Pawpaw? And apparently the pawpaw and the goat, I'm not sure if it's the bird or a sheep, came back positive for this. Hang on, I better not mention it. For this, what can we call it? Yeah. So it shows you how accurate those false positives. It's just all false positives with those bloody tests. And again, I think it's just that's hyped up. You know, instead of Monty Python's flying circus, it ought to be Bill Gates' flying circus, because it is a circus. It's just a joke. Right, let's go back and I'm going to answer this. So I won't bother to read it out again. You see that? Okay. And we've got another one now. Wattle, Abraham Lincoln. Possibly. Well, Emin Hudamna. I'm terribly sorry, I can't pronounce the surname there. Don't think I'm rude. Don't take it personal. I'm terrible at surnames. I'll read your what you put in the comments section after I've I've got everybody wound up to answer this. The answer is Winston Churchill. It's the odd one out. But what was said earlier about Uncle H not having his picture on currency, that could be an answer as well. So I didn't think along those lines. Now, the reason why I've said this is, let's go back to the banners. Here we are. Is Abraham Lincoln introduced debt-free currency, and he introduced the greenback, and he told the Rothschilds to sod off, basically, not exactly in those words. And Tony Blair's wife, whose maiden name was Booth, her great how many greats, grandfather, John Wilkes Booth, excuse me a moment, this pollen gets everywhere, there we go, he assassinated Abraham Lincoln. And they say, whether it's true or not, I don't know, that he did it on behalf of the banks, and he was allowed to escape. This was according to Dave Starbuck, the real Dave Starbuck from the Midlands. And they've looked through dental records, and they reckon that his dental records showed up in the early 1900s somewhere in America. So John Wilkes Booth got away. He wasn't killed, which history books say he was. So Abraham Lincoln introduced debt-free currency. Lloyd George in 1916, he introduced debt-free currency, and that was called the Bradbury pound. And then when he became, and that's when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer in 1914, the beginning of the First World War. And then in 1916, when he became the Prime Minister, or Minister, as some people call it, he had a meeting with the banksters, and suddenly the debt-free currency was phased out. I wonder why. And of course, Mr. H told the banksters to get stuffed, and introduced the Reichsmark, which was debt-free currency. And that's why Germany went from bust to boom overnight. And it's to do with usury. So Abraham Lincoln abolished usury. Lloyd George tried to abolish usury, but didn't quite do it. Mr. H abolished usury, and the country boomed. And Winston Churchill had all his debts, which amounted to £19,400, which was a lot of money in those days, paid off. I think it was by someone called Schiff in the Bank of England. And in 1940, he became unelected Prime Minister of Great Britain, and he maintained usury, ensuring that future generations, like our generation, is up to the neck in debt. So the first three tried to get rid of usury, and the fourth one ensured that usury continued on. That is the answer. Interesting. Please do your own research. Don't take what I say. And also, the other answer, the first again I never thought of, was I'll have to look this up. But I think Mr. H was the only one whose picture has never been on currency. Not sure about that one, but we'll look that up. Anyway, thank you very much. So I don't know who the winner is, but we'll have a look. I don't know if anybody got, I think somebody did get that. Let's have a quick look through the chat room. There we go. Who got it? Let's have a look. It's Adrian. And if anybody else got it, I do apologise, I got it out, but I can't see anybody before that. So good luck, Adrian. And you can hear my dirty joke. That is the winner. A dirty joke at the end of the programme. As I said last week, the runner-up gets 2 dirty jokes. So excellent. Thanks, Adrian. Great. Right. Let's have a look down here, and I'll read out what Eamon actually said. Now, where we go? Here we go. Put down, and this was talking about, oh yes, that Tanzanian bloke. I don't know much about him, but I kind of like what I've heard so far. And he said, yes, it's great that Africa is waking up to the bullshit they've endured from Pharma and the banks. Oh, Africa and India have certainly gone through it, especially with Bill Gates. I mean, was it the last week or the week before? I think it was the week before. I read out, and I just top of my head, I think it's 490 something thousand Indian children have been maimed by Gates's vaccines. Anyway, on what he says, the president of Ghana told Macron that he didn't want France's help too. Good for them. Good for them. That's brilliant. It's nice to see you waking up. I've concluded that social distancing about conditioning people so the internet of things will run smoothly. Apparently, networks that broadcasts wave frequencies are vulnerable to. Now, that's an interesting one. Wow, that is interesting. Are vulnerable to human blocking. I didn't think of that. You got a good point there. Yeah. You got a really good one there. Right, let's have a look at the next one. So basically, they all gave the bankers the middle finger, except our alcoholic representative. Spot on there, Wattle and Daub. Yes. Well, Churchill was described by the Canadian Prime Minister of that time as a drunken bum. And apparently most of his speeches were done by actors because he was so, excuse my language, well, I say pickled, I was going to say pissed, but I think that would have been a bit rude, so I won't say pissed. He was so pickled that he could hardly stand up. But let's face it, he was a figurehead. That's all, because it was a coalition government, and it was Attlee that was actually running the country, and in the background, and Churchill was the mouthpiece, who incidentally, Winston Churchill was a Mason, and Clement Attlee was a Mason, and they both continued with usury. Makes you think, doesn't it? Yes. Anyway, I'm going to get rid of this banner now because I'm getting a bit fed up with it. Here we go. So thank you very much for answering those competitions, and that got the wrong teeth in. Thank you very much for answering the competition and putting a different slant on the answer, because I'm going to look into that currency, because I think you're actually right. I think it was Uncle H that didn't have his picture on the currency, because I've actually got some Reichmark notes, original ones, because my dad got them during the war because he was in the frontline intelligence. And yes, don't know how much they're worth. I've also got a German Iron Cross because my uncle went into the Chancellery in the British Army, I hasten to add. Yes, anyway. So we put this up again. Corona, here we go. Oh, oops, I said the word. So, you know, handshakes, hugs, kisses, humanity and kindness, welcome. That's it. Back to humanity. Right. So, on with the program. Now, what was I talking about? Yes, I've done about masks and things like that. So I'm going to try and find a way. I was actually thinking of making a mask where you've got a slit in it. So if you have to wear a sanitary towel type mask, put a slit in it so you can breathe, and some sort of holes in it where you've got the nose, so you can sort of put it around your ears and put it on like that, so you can breathe easily. Right, here we go. Now, has anybody heard of, I mean, when you talk to people, it's surprising, it's how you speak that you get a response back. So if you sort of went up to someone, hello, they'll sort of go, Well, if you say, well, hello, they'll be nice to you. And what gets me is the royals. Now, between you and I mean, I've looked into my family ancestry, and I'm part Welsh and a bit Cornish, and a bit of French there as well, and German. And Now, the German Welsh side is my father's side, and the French Cornish side is my mother's side, you see. And I think I'm far more English than old Lizzie or the Queenie, you know. And by the way, I'm going to tell you a joke a bit later, which if ever you meet the Queen, you could, you know, because it's always a bit stuffy, you know, with that sort of royal, when you're amongst the royals. I've never been amongst the royals, but if you are, and you could say, you know, nudge her and say, "Oh, Liz, have you heard the one about the constipated vicar?" And she said, yeah, yes, I heard that from Philip, you know, but I could crack one about the singing gynecologist, if you like. You know, it sort of loosens up the atmosphere because it's all, you know, and you never know, she might crack one. But no, going back to it, my ancestry, I've got a very unusual. So it's not Eric von Essex, as you've probably gathered. I've got a very unusual, rare-ish surname, which is sort of English Welsh, and it's very old English. And looking into it, my grandfather always thought that we were not related to the royals, but related to the older royals before the Normans invaded. So I probably got more claim to the throne than Queenie. So, you know, I can sort of practice the Queen's wave. I've got to practice talking down to people, which will be a little bit difficult because I suffer from chronic shyness. So can you imagine, you know, go along in the royal car. We can't see him. He's hiding under the seat somewhere. And I wouldn't be able to give an official speech unless I put a few gags in. Because I can't do it unless I can't do it serious because I'll just crack up. So I'd have to put a few gags in, say, "Oh, do you hear the one about this?" You know. But no, seriously. There's a castle in mid Wales. It's on the border of England and Wales, which is of my surname. And my grandfather always believed we had a link. So I looked into this, and yes, my ancestors did have the castle. Unfortunately, I haven't got their money, and there was no heir to the throne. So in the 17th century, they sold it to the Herberts. So the Herberts now own the castle. But my sort of ancestry goes back before the Normans, because to me, I look on the Queen as a Norman interloper. You know, she's not English, she's Norman, because the Normans put the royals there, and the last real royal was old Harold, probably. So I would probably go along from the Harold's line, going back. So, you know, watch out, Queenie, I might be after your job, although I wouldn't want it. I think it must be the blimey, no. Can you imagine walking around, everybody praising you everywhere you go? Oh, Bennett. I think there must be a little bit, you know, imagine people, hello. Now, this brings me on to the next subject. Has anybody ever heard of the Prince Philip triple condescension? Now, Prince Philip, I've always said the Queen walks around with a smell under her nose, and Prince Philip looks like the smell that's under it. I mean, I can't stand the role. I really can't. And Prince Philip is the only man I know that can state the obvious, ask the question, and answer it all in one sentence. So, bear with me. Now, I once saw this film of him it was on television, very briefly on. This is when I had a television, that was over 10 years ago. I think Queenie and him went to Africa at one time. And he goes into this school. And there's a teacher there, sort of writing on the blackboard, looking at the side, thinking, is he coming in? And he goes up to her and he says, so he states the obvious first of all. So you're a teacher. Then he asks the question, are you? Then he answers it. I see. And it's immediately condescending, isn't it? So can you imagine if he was in the chat room? So he'd say, so you people are in the chat room. Are you? I see. So states the obvious, asks the question and answers it all in one sentence. But nobody else can get away with it. Oh, I've got Ralph here. What's it? King Eric. That's it. That'd be good, wouldn't it? King Eric. That'd be bleeding funny, wouldn't it? Can you imagine on the? I haven't seen the television for about 10 years. I don't have Channel 4 News still on. If it was, you know, it's Channel 4 News. King Eric today. Crack the gag. about the whistling parrot and the shy vicar. we cannot repeat this because it's too rude. No, I don't think it go down very well. But no, but you think about that. That's what I call the Prince Philip triple condescension. Because who else could state the obvious, ask the question and answer it all in one sentence? And everywhere he went, he did it. You know, he'd go in and it'd be like all these artists displaying different art. And so you're an artist, are you? I see. It was classic, it was. Perhaps I should, you know, if I've got royal, I hope not, because if I've got royal blood, then it would mean my ancestors' cousins married each other. And I wouldn't be too proud of that. Although, if it's on the Harold side, which I think it is, they didn't. Because the kings and queens before, before the Romans got here, the king or the queen was the eyes and ears of the poor and the downtrodden. And if you had a dispute, they weren't bloodthirsty. You know, when you think of the ghastly things that kings and queens did, that's generally after the Normans took us over. So I think, you know, it's quite interesting, really, when you look into it. But as I say, the king or the queen was the eyes and ears of the downtrodden. That's what their job was, you know. But do you like the way? And do you think I should practice doing the triple condescension? You know, so I'd say, oh, hello, hello, Stephen, truth seeker. So I could say, so you're Squirrel Girl, are you? I see. Oh, what's new? Oh, well, not much really. We've had the competition, so you better see the recording for that one. And we've had the seals outside. You know, at 8 o'clock doing their crapping. So we've been long with that one, and we're now on about the Prince Philip triple condescension. So why not? You was an artist, really? That's interesting. What sort of art did you do, Stephen? Was you, you know, painting, that type of thing, you know, or you know, in oil or watercolor, you know? But yes, it's rather interesting, you know. But looking at this, the name of the program, which is the Illogical Logical Cult. Now, please excuse me if I repeat myself again. I'm quite good at repeating myself, so I think it's my age, you know. I'm going through a very difficult age, you know, at the moment. But just have another glug. I noticed that around about early 90s, a new type of sort of, I don't know, personality or lack of personality type of person came in. And I'll give you an example. Now, I know I've said this in a previous show. So if you've heard what I'm about to say before, you know, please can I make a cup of tea? And I'll have one whilst you're at it. No sugar for me, thanks. Anyway, on with the... And I'll be very brief on this. As you know, I was a freelance bloke, and I used to work I got a contract once in Barking, which is on the border of sort of East London, Essex. And I worked in this building. It was actually a public inquiry, and I had to do the architectural side of it. But anyway, on with the story. And Barking is, well, in those days was a bit run down in some areas. And there was this educated twit, an illogical logic educated twit. And very briefly, he used to cycle in from some shithole in London on his bike and chain his bike, which had quick release wheels, to the railings outside the office. And of course, it's okay during the day because there was security at the reception of the office, and there were security cameras all around, so nobody touched his bike. But this stupid tit decided to go away for the weekend and go by train So he left his bike chained up outside and got on the train, went to the local station and went by train to where he had to go. And when he came back Monday morning, there's just one wheel sitting there. And the thieves must have thought that Christmas had come early. And we said, well, why don't you, if you're going to go away for the weekend, put your bike underneath, because there's this huge area underneath the stairs in this place. Why don't you put it there? Nobody will notice it. The office is locked over the weekend, be as safe as houses. And he said, don't be stupid. No, that's rubbish. Blah, blah, blah. And talked to the rest of us as if we were dirt beneath him. Anyway, time goes on and he goes away for another weekend, leaves his bike outside, does exactly the same thing, or a second bike because he had to buy another one. And he comes back Monday morning and there's one wheel chained and soppy sod, you know. It's quick release wheels. Anyway, cut a long story sideways. In those days, police used to try and solve crimes. He asked the police him. There's this police officer walked in, and this office was sort of open plan. You had like glass partitions, so you could sort of see through the offices. Anyway, you could see him talking to the police officer. The police officer left, and he came out to us and said, oh, he's given me fantastic advice. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, why don't you park your bike underneath the stairs over the weekend? When the office is locked, it'd be as safe as houses. We all sort of went, but that's what we said. Oh, no, but you've got to hear this from a professional. You're not professional police. Illogical logic. That's the way they think. It's illogical logic. It's just sort of... and I've found this more and more. For example, 21 years ago, I published my dad's book about his war experiences. And of course, as you can gather, I couldn't get a publisher to touch it because it had the truth in it. And all publishers wanted was the Hollywood version. And my dad had the real version. So I had to dip into my savings and publish it myself. And I'm not a publisher. Anyway, to try and promote it, I thought, I know. Now, remember, we didn't have the internet like it is today. Outlets to promote a book was very limited, whereas the internet is fantastic. So I had to sort of look at the resources I've got. So I contacted a local BBC radio station. I know. And a woman said, one of these sort of young, illogical logic people, straight out of university, said, oh, yes, perhaps we could get your father to speak with a historian. So I said, well, hang on a moment. My father was actually there, and a historian that's written about it was too young to be there. And she said, yes, but the historian does know about the war. I said, but my dad was in it. And that is illogical logic. And this is what's happening with the government. The BMA is really a lapdog for Bill Gates, allegedly, I believe. And so is the World Health Organization. So, but the twats in power, they're illogical logic cult. They'll say, oh, yes, they're professional. And they're as gullible as crap. And I just wonder what it is that's doing this. Now, I think it's either, well, it's partly, I think, ideological subversion when the former Soviet Union infiltrated our universities. And this is the result of it. But also, they're very impractical. Now, you think, if you go back, say, 40, 50 years, you look at old cars. You get in a car, if you want to go in the window, you had to think about it and wind the window open. Now, you just press a button. When you started an old car, my first car was a Morris 1000, and you had to pull a choke out to reach the fuel mixture and start the car. The car wouldn't start unless you pulled the choke out if it was cold, and you had to put the choke in gradually as you drove along the road. Cars now do not have chokes. They're automatic chokes. They start automatically. You get in a car, it goes brum. You open the window, press a button, and you can have fun. See if you can ask someone directions. They put their head in your car. You can close the window. I'm joking. And I really do think this is a problem. They're like something from the dark side. Now, I mean, common sense isn't common. Logic would say Bill Gates funding the World Health Organization, funding the British Medical Association. Something funny here. And you would look at the real facts, not the, because with statistics you can push them whatever way you want. You can corrupt statistics, and you'd look at it through it and think, well, there's something wrong here, and you wouldn't destroy the country. So we're looking at an illogical logic cult, and that is, I think, the problem. Let's go back into chat, see what's in there. Now, what we got here? Competition rules, no spoilers. No, not, yeah. I don't like rules and regulations. I like things to be loose. And this is the other thing, you see. Where are we? Have you noticed everything is to do with the wolf pack? Everybody has to be part of the team. You go to school, you've got to be part of this team and that team. Now, when I was a kid, I spent, before I started school, most of the time on my own. I was quite happy on my own. I used to play little toy boats in the garden. And suddenly I was dragged along to this hellhole, which was school. And I thought I got into a lunatic asylum. I thought, huh? I actually used to believe that all children had to be punished for being children, because I was really happy playing on my own. I won't say playing with myself, playing on my own when I was a kid. I was that way. And my dad used to work in the typewriter industry, and he used to get these polystyrene boxes that the typewriters came in, and his firm used to throw them out. So he used to bring them home, and I used to fill them with water, because they held water, and play little toy boats on there. Ooh, I was happy to sandboard. I was quite happy. I'm a bit of a loner like that. I'm quite happy in my own company. And I started school and I hated it. And the happiest day I had at school was the day I left. I couldn't wait to get out the door. And I like working on my own. I can't work with other people. I just like to be on my own, because I find teams, I'm not really into interplay with other people telling me what to do and things like that. I just like to do my own thing. That's it. It's like if I went on holiday or anything like that. Well, I'm not a holiday sort of person, but I've always wanted a camper van so I can park where I want, not in a campsite, but off the road, or a van that looks like an ordinary van, but it's actually a camper van inside. This is why I look at a lot of camper van YouTube channels, because that's something that's one of my ambitions I'd like to do. But like to do things beyond. I like to keep. If there's a crowd, I avoid it. But have you noticed that government is all to do with crowds, being part of the wolf pack? You've got to be this, you've got to be that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and all this levels of. It's a bit like, look at the police force. They're all different levels, and my father has always said, if a police officer speaks to you, always address them in a rank that is higher than they are. And my father once had a problem in his car. I think the windscreen wiper went a bit funny. So we got out of the car and it was on the motorway. He parked on the side and he just changed the windscreen. I think he had a spare windscreen wiper. He just taken it off, and of course the old blue lights came along. This bloke came along with the old cap. Remember uniforms with hats? Oh, very dodgy. What's going on here, sir? And all that. So he said, sorry, Sergeant. He said, no, actually, Sergeant, I can't remember exactly what he said. I've just changed windscreen wiper. And the soppy bastard said, well, get going as soon as you can. And I thought, soppy git. And he went. And my dad said, that's the thing. He said, he addressed him as Sergeant. He'd go away and cream his pants with excitement because he's been thought that he's a higher rank, because they think on ranks. They don't think like ordinary people. So address them a rank above what they are. So if they're Sergeant, yes, Chief Inspector, that sort of thing, makes them feel good, let them get themselves excited afterwards. Anyway, this is the thing. It's all this sort of, you look at the House of Conmen or Commons. Why would anybody give up a successful business to go and become an MP, where they have to be in the rank and file and told what to do and go through all these different ceremonies? It doesn't make sense to me. Surely if you're a successful businessman, you're a successful businessman. Why would you want to piss around in a dump like that? And to me, it's the dark side. And when you look at governments, think of what they brought us. Wars, this crap that we've got now, nonsense, lies. And whenever they do anything, they don't do things for you. They do things for the usury scam. and they're usually scam masters. Because you think about it, set up an NHS, falling to bits. Why isn't the NHS run as efficiently as the Inland Revenue tax people? Now, can you imagine if the tax office was run like the NHS? They'd say, I'm sorry, you're on a waiting list to pay your taxes. We've had staff cutbacks and that. So if you could just hold on to your money, and we might be able to accept it in about 6 months' time if you come to the top of the waiting list. Can you imagine that? No, it's super efficient. But anything they give us, which is basically the offal, is crap, isn't it? And isn't it amazing that before this, I like doing this banner, a bit of a laugh. Here we go. This hyped up came along. They couldn't give a shit about the homeless, couldn't give a shit about the health service. And now they're very, very worried about our health. Isn't that amazing? Can you smell something? Is it cats? Is it dogs? No, I think it's bullshit, isn't it? Yes, definitely. Anyway, that's my little rant for this evening. And we'll have a quick look in the comments again. It's very, very lively again. So what have we got here? Oh, yes, I asked what, Stephen, is it abstract impressionists? Ah, that's interesting. I don't know if you would call this impression. I'm a great fan of I don't know if he was an impressionist. Well, Salvador Dali was okay because he could actually draw, but the impressionists of Paris and things like that, which I was going to go on to talk about architecture, but that really gets up my hooter, that does, because I always believe that we are, from the environment we come from, brutal architecture, brutal people. Not always, but it creates aggression. But that's possibly for next week. So let's have a look here. So it's gone. So it had gone to the dogs. Boom. But oh yes, that's barking. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That stupid educated twit. Barking's train station. Well dodgy. Yeah. I used to drive down there actually, but luckily it had quite a nice car park there. With all security and that, so I was all right. A few years ago though. Do you know why Mark Windows live stream didn't go ahead last night, Chris? No, actually, I forgot all about it. I didn't go. It's a good point there, Adrian. I didn't know that. You just told me. Yeah, because he's actually on an American program as well, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, I might give him a ring and ask him, actually. Yeah. So, what we got here? Yes, went to watch Mark Windows last night. No show, no explanation. Strange, isn't it? It might be he might have had a dodgy internet connection. Any guessing, but because he's really good on the American program. But he had that chat talking about evil entities, which has just reminded me. Hang on a minute. What? Mark Windows live 9:30 tonight. Oh, that's all right. So you can tune in up right. Right, sod off. All right. Oh, thank you for that, Ralph. Yeah, I didn't know that. Here we go. See, it takes someone from Hertfordshire, a fellow person from Hertfordshire away. Some people say that 2 and 2 equals 4, but that's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah, that's good. So, I better sod off before 9:30 because I see all the audience go. No more lone wolf. Yeah, talking about being an individual, because as I say, individuals have changed things in life, haven't they? You look throughout history, look at the way individuals have changed things. Sometimes for the bad, sometimes for the good. Who knows? Now, what we got? Teamwork ideology has changed. All too PC and clinical now. Infiltrated by common purpose. Yes. Everything, parenting, counselling now to be a bin man. I believe in equality, not negative authority. Yeah. It's all common purpose. Again, common purpose is illogical logic, isn't it? It's that illogical logic comes through. I remember that Millennium crap, that thing they had at Greenwich, and I got some free tickets. Now that's a place I wouldn't go to in a million years, but I got free tickets, so I thought I might as well use it. And I went there, and it was really creepy. It was, I'll call it dark side. There was something lacking in it. You know, you went into an area called World of Work, and you walked into a room, and they got all these wheels on the wall with stuffed toy hamsters in them, and these wheels are going round. So I think, right, okay. Go into the next room, and they've got all post-it notes all over the wall. So what? Walk out. And it was just sort of, it looked as if the whole Millennium thing, or experience, if you could call it that, had been thought up on a Friday afternoon at a committee meeting where everybody had to get home. And I thought, oh yeah, let's do this. And it was just full of nothing. Loads and loads of nothing. And very creepy. And I think it was very satanic. I've been very straight, very satanic. And I didn't like it there. I had a funny feeling all the time I was there. It was sort of... Now, talking about funny feelings, I've been talking on Facebook to a person about the dark side and entities. And I want to do another program on this. And I'll be very interested in your experiences if you've had experiences of the dark side. Person I was communicating with on Facebook, so that they had in their family, there was some dark side entering into it. I know in my family, something rather dark and sinister married into my family and decimated it. So it's an interesting subject, a way I think these hidden entities manipulate and pull things around. And I think what's happening at the moment with this, shall we say, Bill Gates circus, flying circus, I think we could call it that, has dark entities manipulating it, because it's just not human what's going on. And I'm sick of being bullied and people being basically rude to me for me just going about my business and not bothering them in any way. I mean, I respect if they want to keep 2 meters away, if they got bad BO, I don't mind. I'll respect their religious cult. Yes, I respect it. I won't upset their cult, because to me it is a religion and it is a religious cult. I respect it, yes, but don't, you know, as long as they don't bully me around, you know, especially when I'm pretty innocent. I'm not really doing anything wrong. I mean, I had somebody. I mean, I'm a driver and I also go by bike. And now that there's fewer cars on the road, I generally cycle down to the local town for a bit of exercise. And, you know, I had someone say, you're spreading the virus around by going on by bike. How can I spread the virus around by going by bike? I mean, oh, this is a cracker. This is you like this one. I went out the other day in my car and I was driving through the country lanes near where I live. And I kid you not, 100% true. I saw a woman walking along, boots, backpack, surgical gloves, sanitary towel mask, and goggles. And she's in the middle of bleeding nowhere. She's walking along by the side of a lane. And all there was horses in a field, trees, flowers, birds. No humans, apart from me in my car, but the window closed. What's the matter with me? And she's walked along going, she's gone out for some fresh air, but she's not getting any because she's breathing in her own foul breath. Some real loonies, absolute loonies. Anyway, I'll finish off because my windows will be on in 20 minutes. So, right, where have we got here? This is interesting. The Millennium Dome looked crappy. Yeah, it was crappy. Well, it's a giant condom, wasn't it? It looks like. Prince Charles makes a good point occasionally. Yes, about the carbuncles. Well, when you look at the City of London, it is very, very sinister, very satanic. I used to work in the city, not in banking, in architecture, I hasten to add. And if you go along Lower Thames Street, past, there's a building, the Blue Building, which was the market there. And you look at the top, it's a blue building, blue glass, and look at the top 3 floors. Somebody designed the top 3 floors. I'm not proud of it. Yes, it was Billingsgate Market was there. So, you know, yes, it was the Billingsgate redevelopment. I worked on that. And they had site offices there, and it was one of the best contracts I ever did, actually. I really enjoyed it there because the office where I was, you looked out over the Thames. And I started there a week after some bozo in a Royal Navy ship decided to turn the ship round without the help of tugs, and it went straight into, I think it was London Bridge. Bosh! And apparently everybody on the site cheered. But I remember we was all looking out the window one lunchtime. And there used to be a fantastic sandwich bar called Friends Sandwich Bar in the city. And they did the most, it was a French bloke that ran it. The most fantastic sandwiches. So I was there scoffing my sandwiches. And there's, you know, these, I don't know if they've still got them, these barges that they were full of crap and muck that they would take up, I suppose, to Tilbury. And one day, you know, I started looking out. There's all these police boats, all blue lights flashing, and there was squaddies with their guns all on this pile of what looked like a load of crap going past the window. Bloody strange. It's gold they dug up and something like that. But anyway, in the evening newspapers that evening, apparently they dug up, I think it was a big Herman World War II bomb that was still live. There was like the rest of the blokes back in the office eating their sandwiches, watching this bloody live bomb going next to us past the window. They would have known. I don't think they'd been eating their sandwiches there. Anyway, they blew it up at Tilbury, apparently. Anyway, right, here we go. Now, it says, I was out at 8 o'clock for the clapping today. They were looking at me and grinning. I just pretended. Me? No, understand. Oh, that's good. I'm going to excellent. You're on my side. What you got here? I hasten to add, I was walking home, not out specially for it. Oh, you're forgiven then. Right, what have we got? What about face shields? Oh, yeah, I've seen them. Well, best easy. I don't think you can get the industrial masks that I've got for me paint spraying, where you take the canister out and just breathe ordinary. But I'm tune in next week. I might work something out because I'm thinking of making the ones, the sanitary towel ones, as I call them. You know, the hook around the back. I think to make them with like a split there and some holes in them, so I'm going to so I can breathe. Because let's face it, it's symbolic, isn't it? Because as with any religion, it's all symbolism, isn't it? You've got to show, because it wouldn't stop any germs coming in, and it's just to show that you are part of that religion. Yep. Oh, hang on, I've jumped a few here. Where are we? Sorry about this. What about? Oh yeah, you said that one. Here we go. I saw someone driving with a face shield on last week. Well, I've actually seen them round my way, driving along with surgical gloves and the sanitary towel masks on in their car with the window closed. Yep. Yeah, that's right. In Tesco's they wear them a lot. Yeah. It's yeah. I like what was outside a shop. I wrote it down. Someone showed me a photograph of it in America, and it says here, where did I put it there? Oh, here it is. We are open to the truth. This was a shop. No masks allowed. Handshakes okay. Hugs very okay. That's what I like to see. And they don't look. That's right. They don't. Let's face it. I think that those masks, not the, but I mean the face masks, are dangerous because you think you're dizzy, you're disorientated because it fogs your brain up. And then you get in a car and drive away. Whilst you, I think it's. I really do. Seriously, I think they're dangerous. I really do. I mean, you know, if you want to show you're part of the cult or believe in their cult, well, why not, you know, have one with we've got the slit there and 2 slits so you can breathe. You're right, yeah. We should ask what needs welding. That's a good one, isn't it? Oh no, really? So a postman in full gas mask, attention. You do see him like that. I saw a geezer the other day. It looked really sinister. He was on a push bike. He had, you know, the ski masks that they wear. They got those sort of like plastic things with the ski goggles. I kid you, cycling along. It looked really sinister because you knew it was something behind there, but it looked like sort of RoboCop. It quite frightening, it was. Yeah, you made Dr. White's on your face, couldn't you? Let's face it. I think, as I said last week, you know, if the government take the lead and start wearing Dr. White's on their face, you know, a load of cunts anyway. Right, gas mask, good vibes. Yeah, yep. If they make masks mandatory, I'm getting a plague doctor mask. That's a good one. But they say mask, but surely couldn't you wear a Tony Blair mask? Because that's a mask. Guy Fawkes mask. They're all masks, aren't they? But don't get Tesco sanitary towels. Don't stick too well, and only get half the absorbency rate for perhaps viruses. Oh well, I remember that. Actually, go and stick them on here. Well, that brings me on to the dirty joke. Okay, what we got here? And it's a sanitary towel joke, actually. I know. We're often about sanitary towels. I don't know. Is it something in the air or something? Or was it something I had for dinner? I don't know quite what it is. But I've got a double joke tonight, you see. Now, Royal Philharmonic Orchestra goes on a tour around the country before all this crap started. And it goes to the Glasgow Empire, which is supposed to be the worst place, you see. And they're playing away. And the crowd have had a bit of the Terps that night, and one of the players in the orchestra, you know, the stuff all being thrown around, beer cans and that, and suddenly gets a sanitary towel, bosh, hits him right in the face. And at the end of the concert, he goes up to the conductor. He says, "Look, I've had a blatant enough of this." He says, "I don't mind being bombarded with beer cans, but someone threw a sanitary towel at me tonight." He said, "Well," he said, "I don't blame him." He said, "You've been playing like a cunt all evening." So it's a terrible joke, but there's the cracker of a joke. All right, now this is the one. I'm sorry, ladies, if I've got a bit over the top with my jokes this evening, but this is the one that you should tell the Queen if you ever meet her. Or, but mind you, she's probably already heard it from Philip, but you never know. Bloke goes for a holiday in Bangkok, and he decides to go to visit the red light district, you see. So anyway, he asks directions in his hotel, and the bloke can't speak English properly. He's like, "Oh yeah, the bloke's a bit confused. Anyway, he's going along and he's looking for this red light district. And suddenly he sees this building with sort of red lights outside. He says, that's the place I've been looking for. Unfortunately, he's mistaken. See, it was all in Chinese writing and that. It's a chiropodist's. And he thinks he's gone to a knocking shop. See? So he goes in there, and people in there that the lady at the reception can't speak English very well. She goes, a place called Honor. So he goes into this room. He thinks, he said, better start proceeding. So he drops his trolleys, gets the old fella out and starts, shall I say, rising to the occasion. And he's getting a bit worked up there. And suddenly a young, beautiful Thai girl comes in, opens the door, walks in and goes, "Oh!" She says, "That's not a foot." He says, "Well, it's bloody near 12 inches. I know it's a foul one, that one, isn't it? So you can always tell, if ever you meet the Queen, you can tell her that one. I'm sure she'll enjoy it. Anyway, on that note, and Mark Windows starts in about 10 minutes. So I better bugger off pretty quick. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. And it's been great talking to you in chat and that. And on a last minute note, if you've got any stories about the dark side or anything like that, about entities and that, I'll be very interested, because I want to do a program about it in the near future. So please send them in, and let's spare a thought for all those people stranded in Spain and all different areas that are on their own, perhaps they're on their own. So let's send some positive thoughts to them. And thank you very much for joining me. And remember, be an individual, but above all, have a good laugh. Thank you very much, and good night.